Kate, I'd like to ask you first. You were born of Welsh parents in Geneva. You've lived most of your life in America. What nationality do you consider yourself to be?
Well, I am, I consider myself, if anybody says, where are you from? I say, if I'm in the UK, I will say I'm Welsh. But of course they hear my accent. In fact, Prince Philip once said to me, where are you from? Like that. When I went to the Wales Millennium Centre, my father, Richard Burton's lifetime. But I consider myself Welsh. I'm pure Welsh. I grew up in New York. There's not a lot of Welsh people in the United States. Most of them live in Pennsylvania and West Virginia, near the coal mines. So yes, I am Welsh. I'm pure. But I would say that if anybody asks what my nationality, that's my nationality. Where I actually live, my passports are the UK and the USA. But I was born in Switzerland. But I don't consider myself Swiss at all.
Well,
why would I? I'm not Swiss. Yeah, I'm definitely a Welsh person who was born in Switzerland.
that's very good to know.
Good, yes.
And you were brought up by your mother?
Sybil Williams, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So did you have much contact with your father?
Yes, Dada and Mama divorced when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and at that time, my mother moved to New York with me and my sister Jessica, who's 2 years younger than me. And, it's so funny, it's sort of looking back on it now. We took it completely in stride. My mother was an extraordinary woman, an amazing mother, an amazing person. And she knew that New York was a place that she really enjoyed visiting when she and Dada would go there when he was performing on Broadway. He did a lot of Broadway performances, and he also he filmed quite a bit in New York. He was early days of television, and he was a real participant in that. In fact, some of those recordings and are coming to light right now. Things that have never been seen, like there was a Wuthering Heights, and there was a few other things. So we moved to, Mom always loved New York, and in the back of her mind, she always thought, oh, this is a place that I could spend a lot of time. And so that when they split up, that's where she came. And so blessedly, I got to grow up in New York City in the 60s and 70s, which was an incredible time to be there. And I still live there. I'm returning there after about 18 years in LA, so Los Angeles. So it's what I say my nationality is Welsh, my passports are British and American, and my hometown is New York City. Yeah.
Cosmopolitan.
I'm so very cosmopolitan.
And did your father talk to you much about Under Milk Wood, the play that he performed in, both on radio and as a film?
We didn't talk so much about it as his, I have a lot of his books, so I have all his Dylan Thomas poetry. I have myself participated in many productions, 2 productions of Under Milk Wood, one with Matthew Rhys and one with Michael Sheen, both of them recorded for posterity, and the second one was actually live streamed on BBC Wales. So it was very, very exciting for me. I really worked on my accent. I don't know that I got all of it absolutely brilliant, but it was pretty good. I was at 98%, A-. But so, Dad and Mom both participated in some of the original recordings of Under Milk Wood with a variety of Welsh actors, including Rachel Roberts, who was an incredible actress who was very close to my family. And, Dada was the original first voice, and Mama was the original Myfanwy Price, and Mrs. Organ Morgan, and Mrs. Dybred One. And so, it was in my life. Dylan Thomas was a part of my life, my entire life. So that was something that I'm going to be totally honest, I grew up with Dylan Thomas and William Shakespeare, and I took them completely for granted as a child. And it's as I've gotten older that I've developed an incredible appreciation for both of them. their importance in world literature, world, dramatization, and also their importance to me personally as an actress, and as a reader, and as an appreciating person, appreciative of what they've given to us. I think that my father's love of poetry was so palpable and so huge throughout his life. And as kids often tend to sort of veer away from the things that their parents are passionate about, I was like, yeah, poetry, whatever. But I mean, here I am, at 65 years old, and I can say that, being in Wales always is fascinating for me, and I always feel so at home here. And this extraordinary love of poetry is really wherever you go in Wales. I mean, it's pervasive. It's in the trees. It's in the, it's in the tables and chairs. That's where it exists. So my memories, Mama talked a little bit about Dylan, but mostly they just performed his incredible work, and also it was just surrounding me in the house. So that's really how I experienced Dylan as a child, as someone growing up.
And I must ask you, what's your favourite Dylan story or poem?
I'm really partial to Under Milkwood for obvious reasons. It's the thing I know the best. I do love Fern Hill. I will say, though, what I find with Under Milkwood, because I've gotten to know it so well, I've directed it, I've acted in it twice, I've seen it probably 5 or 6 times. There are certain words, there are certain turns of phrase that are in Under Milkwood that I just, if I hear it, or if I sort of think about something, I'm looking out the window here in Swansea, I just think, that's from Under Milkwood, and every time I listen to Johann Sebastian Bach, whenever I'm in the car in Los Angeles, listening to my radio classical music, and I listen to Johann Sebastian Bach, I always think, oh, Bach. And I always used to I love him, you had mentioned something earlier about Fred who loves the fireman, or Fred the fireman who loves
Ernie likes fires.
Yes, right. And you said it's so typical Dylan Thomas, that sort of antic brain of his, the way he saw things. And, it didn't even occur to me until I was sort of really working on the first Under Milkwood as an actor, having directed it, having seen it, how many levels there are. I mean, you talk about Child's Christmas in Wales too, and my friend was saying, he hears different things in it every time he hears it. Same with me with Under Milkwood. So that's the thing that I'm the most powerfully connected to, I think. And also because I grew up in New York City, and Dylan, that was such a hugely important part of his life, living in New York at the Chelsea Hotel, going to the White Horse Tavern, and then of course doing probably the first reading of Under Milkwood at the 92nd Street Y, where I spent a lot of my young adult years, because I used to live on the Upper East Side in New York. So I really, related to all of that. I really related.
Kate, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much.
I've had such a great... Thank you so much for visiting me.
I'll be back. You can't get rid of me.